Yeah, so this is the Reform UK candidate
Okay.
for the London mayoral contest. I think I was mentioning this to Madge yesterday. I don't think that there's been enough coverage from the left of Reform UK. We've kind of treated them like they are irrelevant, but they've been astroturfed so hard by GB News and Talk TV, and given the Conservatives' continual decline in the public consciousness, I do think that there is a pretty large chance of Reform UK becoming a lot more relevant in British politics as time goes on. And so I think we need to be starting to nip these people in the bud now for the obviously ridiculous views that they do have. When you watch the things that Alex Phillips and Richard Tice and David Bull say, these people, if their political opinions become mainstream, that's incredibly dangerous. And there is scope for it to happen, given that Keir Starmer is now taking the Conservative brain space. So there's this chasm opened up for like really right-wing politics on economics in this country. And that's what you're going to get from Reform UK. So I think it's worth scrutinising people like this.
Whilst viewers of GB News and quite a few people across the country will know who you are, know the campaigns that you have run, to people who don't know you, who are you and why are you running to be Mayor of London?
It's a very good question, Tom, and sometimes I don't know what can't answer that. On a serious note, though, what's happened is that I've got 1.7 million supporters in a campaign called Fair Fuel UK, which you're fully aware of. I've worked very closely with MPs right across, including people like Robert Halfon MP, who was Mr Fairfield UK in Parliament. And what's really happened in the last year is that with this ULEZ Starlag tax, as I call it,
the level of entitlement of motorists, right? They believe they should have a carte blanche to all of our city space, all of our air. Everyone has to make every single concession possible to keep motorists happy, right? And he does look like the kind of guy who's got like a collection of every single E-type Jag that's ever existed.
He does look like that, yeah. Is the ultra low emission zone, so it's basically you have to pay to drive in certain parts of London, and that's expanding now.
People say it's like part of the green agenda. No, it's not it's not a climate policy. This is a public health policy, because the level of smog in the London area is crazy, right? It's not good air, and I think so. ULEZ is justifiable on public health grounds, really and truly. But of course, your lungs, London residents, are clearly not as important as a Howard Cox's ability to drive a gas guzzler around the incredibly rough dirt roads of the Greater London area.
people have approached me and said simply this: will you stand against this man? And I said no 2 or 3 times, but I was approached by Richard Tice of the Reform Party, and he convinced me. And I have to say to you, for 50 years of my life, I'm 68 years of age, 50 years I voted Tory, but I'm afraid I'm not voting Tory this time because they've moved away and they've allowed...
You do shock me. I thought definitely it would be socialist worker.
These kind of headbanger types, they're super mad with the Tories for thinking that pollution is bad and climate change is also bad. Like, because obviously we both know from a rational scientific perspective that the Conservatives' platform on climate change is absolutely like totally pathetic and is not going to really do anything at all to properly combat the issues of climate change. Any amount of climate policy makes these people absolutely mad, and there's a growing number of these people. That's the kind of the Nigel Farage referendum on net zero type people. They really do hate this stuff, they really do, and they are absolutely seething because the ULEZ was a Tory policy. It was Boris Johnson.
Yep. Indeed, yeah.
There's so many anti-driver policies led by Sadiq Khan in London.
Where? Because all I see is dickheads in cars everywhere.
Just gigantic entitlement, right? A life of privilege makes equality feel like oppression. It's that kind of thing. Ever since like the 1960s, these people have like a complete carte blanche to have total supremacy with regards to how like cities are constructed, how roads get used. For all of this time, they've had complete supremacy over transport policy in this country. And suddenly there's like actual movement back and saying, actually really no, let's prioritize pedestrians, let's prioritize cyclists, let's prioritize our lungs and the climate. And they're like, I am no longer the top dog. This is oppression, this is. And that's genuinely how these people feel, because they have a gigantic entitlement.
Well, it's not even prioritizing pedestrians, just taking them into consideration at all.
Yeah.
Just them being a factor in public policy making is too much for these people. And I say this as a person who does have a car and occasionally drives. The supremacy of the car in modern society, it's not as bad as these ridiculous cities in America, but it makes places unlivable in some cases. It really does. The air quality is atrocious. The transport system, especially the public transport system, is a fucking joke of a thing. In terms of people who do actually have to travel in that way, you can't because traffic is just mental. The actual infrastructure that was put in place was not meant for this volume of traffic. It's just silliness. What you need to do is invest in low cost, high quality public transport.
Exactly,
That's
100%.
ultimately what you actually have to do.
Yeah.
What's the difference between you and the Conservative candidate in this mayoral election, Susan Hall? She's been on this programme, she's been under the same sort of scrutiny that you are now. Why should someone vote for you rather than her if they're anti-ULEZ? Doesn't that split the vote?
Yes, it probably will split the vote, and I'd be happy to offer Susan Hall deputy mayorship. There's no problem with that whatsoever. But seriously,
Okay, I'll be honest with you. I quite like the swag of that answer.
That's true. That I do like that.
Like, if she wants to step aside, she can be my deputy. Like, that's quite cool.
It might not be. It might not be unfeasible for him to get more votes than Susan Hall. She's such
Not impossible.
She's such a terrible candidate, and the Tories are so far in the mud. And his anti-ULEZ stuff might be a little bit more persuasive, potentially. That he might get more votes than her. That'd be very funny.
I don't think Sadiq Khan is like shaking in his boots.
One thing he said, I would be getting rid of all ULEZ, not just the extension, the ULEZ which goes to the North and South Circular, and the central ULEZ. If it's done its job, we don't need it anymore. London emission.
What? If it's done its job, we don't need it anymore. No, because if you just get rid of it, then it will have undone its job.
Yeah, because people can then go out and then just buy something that was outside of the pollution rules previously, and then start driving it again. Right?
Exactly, and which means the air will be bad, the congestion will be bad. Like the same problem will just return if you get rid of the safeguard that was reduced the problem in the first place.
Exactly.
Like that's not a complicated issue, my dude. I don't know why that would possibly need to be explained to you, a 68-year-old human.
Have rocketed downwards, and that we've got to recognise that there's no point in hitting people more in the pocket, and that's what this government is doing, and also what Sadiq Khan's doing. And Susan Hall's only going to be stopping. In fact, as we stand today, before ULEZ extension coming out on Tuesday, Susan is going to leave things alone. I'm going to get rid of low traffic networks, 20-mile-an-hour zones, all those sorts of things. I'm sorry to say.
I'm going to let you speed past schools. I'm going to let you mow down school kids left and right because that's your freedom as a Londoner.
Absolutely right. The libertarian brain is strong with this one.
Like they're not being introduced just to annoy you. It's because children get run down and mate.
Car brain is like it's like a disease. Car brain is so terminal.
I'm going to get rid of some of the excessively huge cycle lanes too.
You're going to get rid of some cycle lanes? Are you going to not build any new cycle lanes? Is this going to become a car-centric city?
It's going to what we need to do is to get this city, we say motoring, but moving again. One of the problems we have, we've got huge congestion. Cycling.
So we've got huge congestion, so we're going to incentivise people to drive more cars. Cycle lanes and incentivisation of alternative forms of transport is how you lower the demand so that people who do have to drive, like people in works vehicles or in commercial vehicles, can be able to get round the city properly.
I want to encourage, I've got no problem with that about that, but I think it's gone over the top. There's too much pushing towards cycling and away from the motorists, and particularly the commercial aspect of the driving. You know, white van man, we've got the sole traders. They're being hit hardest in this situation. And what we need to do is have some way of incentivising clean fuel technology so that everyone will benefit.
Now, on our People's panel a little bit earlier in the programme, you might have seen that Linda, one of the members of the panel, had been looking at your policy prospectus. Her daughter lives in London, and she was thinking not just, of course, about ULEZ, but about the safety issues in our capital city. How would you make London safer?
Yes, I want people to be aware I'm not a one-trick pony. It's not just for motorists, etc. I couldn't agree more. I have a daughter who's 31 years of age, lives in London too, and she's subjected to the same problems. At any one time, there's only, Bobby's on the beat, there's only about 5% to 10% actually walking the streets of London. That's 90% that aren't. And yet we've got Bobbies, that many amount of Bobbies. Now, I'm going to triple the number of Bobbies, which essentially means...
How are you possibly going to do that? Where are you going to get them from? How are you going to pay for them?
I know how he's going to pay for it. He's going to cancel free school meals. He's going to take the free school meals money and use it to be able to train up new coppers.
two birds, one stone. If you mow down all the school kids, no need for school meals.
True, so true. Just economic efficiency down to the very letter.
Exactly.
How would you fund that?
Well, that's a good question. And but one of the things is obviously I've got to look at what the black hole deficit I'm going to inherit from. It's huge. He's got a £20 billion budget.
Whoa. No, time out, Holmes Slice. You can't do that. If your plan is I'm going to do X, you can't say, well, I need to find out. No, you've made that commitment. How are you going to fund that?
Yeah, exactly. And what's crazy is he's saying, well, actually, I've got a black hole deficit. There isn't. The whole reason why there is free school meals in London in the first place is because the accounts were much higher than Sadiq Khan expected because of a larger revenue from business. I don't think the rates went up, but I think that the business was good in London, so business rates gained more tax money than he expected. So he had a surplus to be able to spend on free school meals. There were plenty of criticisms of Sadiq Khan. I don't think he's done a bad job personally, but I think he's not a perfect political operator. But his management of London's finances is definitely something that you can use as a good point towards him.
Every single policeman I talk to is saying to you, you've only got to get us away from behind the desk and we'll come out. It's not going to be a huge expenditure. But one of the bigger initiatives that I'm suggesting is that we need to help with the safety aspect of this, is to create public police access points in 24-hour outlets like supermarkets or McDonald's and places like that, which will be...
We need police inside McDonald's.
No, it's access points. Is he like saying that we should just have the old school police boxes, but inside McDonald's?
Yeah, just Doctor Who bit. It's just, bring back the Doctor Who boxes.
Those where policemen are manned, and hopefully I can convince people like that to actually fund it, because it's good for them.
Why would Tesco's fund it? What are you talking about, you lunatic? You're hoping that Tesco's will fund a police booth in their... You're a madman.
It's literally, we'll build the wall and get Mexico to pay for it.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
Because it's going to stop shoplifting. But be places for people to go to feel safer.
But they
and hopefully deter...
They already have things to deal with shoplifting. It's called security.
Also, how will it stop shoplifting? Because they're going to be dealing, presumably, with people going in there to report crimes. They're not there as security guards.
No. Well, so you think you're trying to get Tesco to pay extra money for police on top of the security guards?
Some people listening might think you're a very effective campaigner against higher taxation. You've campaigned very successfully about keeping fuel duty down. And here, ULEZ, many people would describe it as a sort of stealth tax, or perhaps less stealthy of a tax, a revenue-raising mechanism anyway. And if you're getting rid of revenue-raising mechanisms, but want to expand the size of the police force, how do you raise the money?
Well, you just said something about expand the police force. No, I'm talking about getting those people stuck behind the desks, monitoring tweets and things like that, instead of going out walking the street.
Oh, God, he's a meme. He's a meme, man. He's just a meme.
This is the words of someone who's never, ever worked or even spoken to anybody who works in the police force ever in his life. Libertarian types always do this. They imagine that every single public department is just absolutely chock full of waste and inefficiency. And if they just got in and they managed it correctly, they could make it far more efficient and then get massive amounts of extra productivity out of it.
The idea that he thinks you can triple the number of bobbies on the beat by taking administration staff away? No, you can't. I'm just going to tell you that, mate. You cannot do that.
I feel safe. I can walk down the street. So there is the money revenue raising is an important question to ask. But what we should be
redeploying, please. I want to get onto the Notting Hill Carnival, of course, happening this weekend. Your Conservative opponent has said that the Notting Hill Carnival police officers dread it. It's unsafe. It perhaps should be moved. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I have to say, I'm not trying to avoid the answering that question. I have no feelings really about that. I mean, it's a carnival which is, ever since I've been around, on this planet, has been there. It's been good. And most of the time, it's been very successful. It is sometimes overtaken by some bad people that make it worse.
Ooh,
things that happen. But I'm not like Susan Hall, that I think, that police dread it. They're doing their job.
Interestingly, Ken.
Wow, okay, the Reform UK candidate is being less antagonistic to the black community than the Conservative candidate is.
Yeah, honestly, that was generally a pretty decent answer. I thought when he started talking about bad people, I thought we were going to go there, but he just went, no, there's some bad people who do some shit, but it's fine. Honestly, no notes. That's fine.
Yeah, the most normal answer we've had yet.
I suspect I'm going to take that point back off you in a second, friend, but, for now, just take the W and enjoy it for 3 3 seconds. Yeah.
Once suggested moving that carnival as well. So perhaps there's some greater, I don't know, party intra-party connections there. But I do want to move on to something that we've done with all of the mayoral candidates who've been on the show. You might have been expecting it. Our quickfire yes/no questions. So please try to answer in just yes or no. We'll start with more stop and search by the police.
Yes.
Should the
The point's gone, mate. I told you.
two-child cap on benefits be lifted?
No.
Wanker.
Yeah.
Should the UK leave the ECHR?
Yes.
Oh, that was. Yeah, I knew he was going to say that.
Should we bring back the death penalty?
No.
Oh, hang on.
Okay.
Again, a sensible answer.
Is the climate change agenda a hoax?
Yes.
Again, you must think that the ULEZ is a climate change measure when it's not. It's a public health measure.
But it's such an odd combination of things.
Yeah,
Climate
it's
change is a hoax, but actually the death penalty shouldn't come back. And then the Notting Hill Carnival's fine, but stop and search should be massively increased. Like,
It's very, but I mean, you just have to literally be vegetable IQ to deny climate change at this point, right? It's such
Yeah.
right. At least most right-wing politicians have conceded that it's happening at the very least. But then they'll either go with, but people aren't predominantly to blame for this. It's not anthropogenic. Or the second one will go with, oh well, it's too late now. We can't jeopardize prosperity for something that it's difficult to come back from. So let's just continue with what we're doing at the moment.
well, the second one's even more mental because it's like, well, let's speed towards the cliff we know is coming up rather than trying to stop. Not sure about that. That seems like a very strange plan.
Is net zero, should that be happening?
No.
Wanker.
Is climate change itself a hoax?
No, climate change is not a hoax. I can't say yes or no to that because I don't think, my point in this is, I don't think it's a crisis. But we do need
Why is it then? It's just a mild kerfuffle.
Yeah. there
Just
you
a
go.
climate change irritant.
Yeah.
to actually involve ourselves in actually helping in terms of setting up anti-pollution measures. But don't blame the motorists every time.
I'm going to give you a fail for yes or no on that
fuck's sake.
question. Should abortion laws be less liberal in the United Kingdom?
Yes.
So, super libertarian, definitely 100% libertarian. This person,
Yep.
100% sticking to all of his moral principles.
Yeah.
Should the state provide universal free school meals for every child?
No.
I told you that's where the funding was coming from. I
He
knew
said
it.
the thing.
You know, I'd see through the veil.
Yeah.
Do you support gay marriage?
Yes.
Are vigilantes right to attack ULEZ cameras?
No.
Was Boris Johnson a good mayor of London?
Yes.
Was Boris Johnson a good prime minister?
Okay. Please, for the love of God, can someone remind me who it was that first instituted the ULEZ measures in London that this man wants to get rid of as his main campaign policy? It was Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson was the person who put ULEZ in London. It's a Boris Johnson policy, and apparently it makes him a good mayor of London.
Was the last United States presidential election legitimate?
No.
Firstly, why did it matter? Why would you ask the oh, what a fucking freak.
Every single little kind of nugget of demented conspiracy theory that we could possibly have squeezed into this interview has managed to get squeezed in just somehow.
Honestly, I hope he asks him more about that. I hope he probes. What was the problem with it then?
Yeah.
What happened?
Would Donald Trump make a good president again?
Thanks, Tom, for that one. Can I sit on the fence on that one?
You can sit on the fence of that. And is Joe Biden a legitimate US president?
But based on the previous answer, I don't think he is, no.
Okay, well, that'll be fun when you don't become mayor and he has to come over and do meetings with you. That won't happen because you'll never be mayor, so who cares?
He was there in Maricopa County. He saw all of the votes getting thrown out.
He was, yeah. To be fair, me and the ghost of Hugo Chavez, who did all of that vote rigging, we weren't subtle about it. He did see us.
I'm looking forward to Brad Raffensperger sending an indictment out to Howard Cox tomorrow.
That'd be amazing. Imagine if he gets mentioned in a presidential campaign. That would be dope. Love it.
And finally, should the top rate of tax, 45%, be abolished?
Yes.
So not only does he want to make sure that all of our children get run over by cars, he also wants to make sure that we pollute all of their lungs as well. He thinks that the US election was illegitimate.
He's the British Kraken. Yes.
Yes, and on top of that, he wants to destroy the economy a la Liz Truss as well.
Yes. The thing that we just saw was a ridiculous thing to do that nearly destroyed the country. That thing he thinks is a good idea. Awesome. Thanks. Thanks, Mr. Cox.
If you enjoyed this video, please do consider liking and subscribing. It does help out the channel and the algorithm. And if you click the bell notification icon, it will let you know when I go live and when I upload videos. If you'd like to follow me on social media, my handle is @NoJusticeMTG, and that is Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. If you want to support my channel in a more financial manner, you can do so by becoming a member for just 99p, by super chatting, or by supporting me on Patreon, with the link is in the description of this video, and hopefully I'll catch you on the next segment.